Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to City Skylines 2. This is episode number 14. Before we get into this episode, every once in a while, doing updates with the computer, it messes with the settings on OBS. I have a system where I go through this checklist and make sure that everything is functioning properly. Every once in a while, I forget to do it. And for the terrible luck that I have, it seems to always be that one time where it resets everything and makes it go haywire. There's no game audio, unfortunately. So I've taken two big episodes and I'm actually condensing them all the way down into one. It's going to be largely sped up as we go through. Without that game audio, you're relying just on the voiceover here. Commentary. This is re-recorded after the fact. Now, what I'm doing with this first task of the day, and like I said, a lot of this is going to be just snippets sped up. So a lot of content, a few hours of gameplay covered in within this one episode. But the first thing I'm up to is expanding our network for radio coverage, for internet coverage, and at the same time, I made the discovery that the antennas are upgradable, so they can have better coverage, which is going to make everybody happier. So I'm spending the money to upgrade that coverage throughout, and you can see we've now completed that process. We've expanded the range on a couple of them when there was a couple little pockets that weren't quite covered, but now everything's covered quite comfortably. Not going all out. There's still some areas that are lacking a little bit in parks. The next one I'm on to is adding parks, in particular in the suburb type areas where we really just didn't have anything previously, and those parks will give us coverage in the housing areas in particular. Industrial, the commercial, I don't worry about it as much. I get a little bit here and there, but definitely not much. Next up is I have no bus route connecting us, and so far the buses have been the most effective. It's been the biggest mover of people besides cars, and so getting a bus route to the airport felt pretty important. So adding in a quick bus route there and connecting it up with our bus depot, which, by the way, that local traffic at that bus depot is good to go. It's plenty of traffic, but it's flowing. So since I got that spun around and since we added that second ramp nearby, it really took care of it. Likewise, it was time to add in another route. This whole western burbs area and Sea Lion had no bus coverage at all, and there's some high density stuff in there, meaning there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of low rent, meaning there's a lot of people that don't own cars. How are they supposed to get around? So adding another bus route there, connecting that up with our bus depot as well, one that cuts through the burbs and then into Sea Lion and then heads on and actually briefly into Geriatric before it heads back to the bus depot, as that's the only way to connect back up into that region. Welfare office, we'd put one down previously, but it's regional coverage. It's an area coverage, and so as soon as I discovered that, getting more welfare offices placed on the map became an important theme for me. And trying to get one into Sea Lion is easier said than done without destroying the forest or really taking away too much housing. And I thought I had it right here. That spot looked like it was going to work, but the edge of our forestry area was in. This one uncovered. That's just open forest, and so I finally got it into there. And you can see now that whole southern edge is suitably covered. We've already got the northern edge covered. But I also came to the realization that I unlocked the central bank a while back. It's $2.4 million. It's going to add 2% loan interest deduction. It's going to add a 5% export profit increase and a 5%, whatever that last one was. It went by too fast for me to see. Hopefully you caught it. But 10% worth of bonuses. I've stayed away from loans. Make sure we have money. Don't spend it all. And we're going to put it near our medical institute. Just extend the road a little bit to keep it connected. And there you have that one. Central Bank has no upgrades. So that's task complete. Then I also, looking into the education network, realized that there is another type, a tech institute for the practical jobs, that had nothing. So I hadn't built that one yet either. And running out of space, I decided that there's still a big pocket. The opposite side of the freeway is completely untouched. I've had this ramp there for a long time and decided that we are going to extend this direction. And unlike what I did in other areas where I tried to match the freeway, here I'm creating a real grid, straight pocket. Couldn't fit it in. It's huge. So I ended up picking up a few more tiles, which gives us a little more space to expand to anyway into that area. And as big as it is, decided that, hey, I need to have a dedicated road, one-way road, in and out with nothing much else on it. And even after putting the dedicated road, it still doesn't quite fit on there. Instantly unlocked an oil refinery special building, and then have to go back in here and extend our road out a little bit further, including the one-way portion to properly link that up. Then get rid of that other section. But there is now our technical university. Next project for me is power. We had nearly used up the point where our extra power that we were exporting had almost run dry. We were almost to neutral, so it seemed a good time to add more. And by add more, it was to get into clean energy, solar power. So I decided this was the place to put it, but the external power lines, and that was part of the reason because it was right next to the power lines and we weren't going to have to run something crazy to get to it, but I had to shift those in, and then we're going to add our first solar power plant. Definitely looking at the possibility of adding a second one in at some point. Now we just need to hook it up. We've got it hooked up to local water and power, but we need to get it hooked up to the larger network. And tricky thing is this little oil derrick just didn't want to fit into that space, couldn't go over the top of it. So really just decided I better just pull it back, and then we can restore it after. And see, found a little vacancy left that we hadn't covered yet anyway. Meanwhile, just next door to it, you can see our solar panels just there, beyond the screen there, and or on the backdrop of the screen. But adding in 2 ore mining locations. So this is another industry we hadn't got into. This rail line that doesn't connect, it connects up to the main rail line, but it goes under a hill. It doesn't seem to have any apparent outbound external connection, but it goes into this hill. Maybe it does. So I went ahead and diverted that line, straightened it out a little bit, and then brought 2 roads in opposite directions, and now we are able to get this all lined up. Make the most of it. Okay, and then we're going to do the same on the other side, and this should get us just about the entirety of this project, of this area, fully mining it. Really just that road is about all that's missing. And that little tiny pocket on the backside. But that should be pretty effective. That's going to help bring in a lot more money. Adding a few tiles here, we need industrial. You can see our demand is quite high for a lot of things. And it's been quite a while since we've had any on-ramp or off-ramp from this highway. And so I decided I need to get another one added in. So going diagonal with this one to kind of meet the needs and what's going on with the rail line there. I initially bring it this way, bring it down, then connect it up, and now we have a road that's coming off of either direction. That's going to help ease some traffic burdens, and then we're going to get this filled out and add a little industrial pocket. And that'll take care of our industrial needs for the time being. Commercial need is also very high, so we'll get a little bit of commercial in there right off that freeway. I added in some medium density apartments through this area. It brought a lot of people, and there's only one road in there. So I decided a large parking lot is going to be the answer, because I'm going to actually go in and add even more, some high density stuff as well. So right off this ramp, this area is going to get real busy real fast. And that large parking lot with a nice cush fee, it's going to fill right up, and that's going to bring us a lot of money. I noticed, finally, even though bus routes are number one, and we are bringing in so much money, well, not so much money, it's not that profitable for us, but we are moving people via bus better than anything else right now. And I noticed that my bus depot only provides a handful of buses, and we had way more routes and way more demand for buses than we had buses, period. I found that you could expand. So to the bus depot, I added 2 additions, added something like 20 more buses to our fleet, and suddenly our routes are starting to get manned. But this gave me a really good chance to go in and properly evaluate each bus line. They're not all light blue anymore. I broke it down. I named them. I decided on the number of buses they needed to try to get us within that window. And we are suddenly going to have every single bus route active and carrying passengers. In fact, as you look here, only one external route, one that leaves the city, is the only one that has no passengers on it, and I've got it down to just 4 buses spread out, and it's only just been adjusted, so it easily could start picking up traffic in the near future. Now, some of them are still at a very small number, but they are the ones that were more recently finished. The ones that I finished first are already 100 plus and growing. So the demand is there now that the buses are actually out on the routes. The ones that were active or near 100% usage have lots of passengers. There's 2 of them, and they're both upwards of 1,000. Shifting my focus over to cargo, there's only 3 lines, and checking in, I discover the exact same issue existing for our trains as what we're having for our buses. There's not enough of them. I've also only got a single connection into the rail yard, and I have no idea if that's a factor or not, as I couldn't understand why. We had access to more trains than we had in the network. So I decided I might as well connect up the entire rail yard and hope that that is a factor why so many trains are missing, and bring in connections throughout. And then looking at our cargo yard, the cargo terminal, I discover that yes, there's a storage warehouse. We don't need that. We're only about 10% full, and it's big. So I'm going to bypass that one. But what we do have is an extra line for the terminal. So that upgrade, happy to bring in and spend the money on that one, because train cargo has gone pretty well for us, and it's definitely moving. So adding in that second line is going to allow us to get that traffic coming in and out into 2 different places. That can make a real difference for us. So I'm going to end up moving one of the lines over to this new one. We need to get it connected up. Logical place seems to be in this now busy intersection that I've placed. My first attempt at connecting it up, though, I didn't realize that I completely missed out. It's up the hill, so I had to delete that, try again, go from the other direction. Then it actually cut through the hill. Next up, I'm going to have to adjust one of the lines. I've not figured out how to change the node and move it. It didn't seem to want to do that function for me, so I just went ahead and deleted the line and rebuilt it and just renamed it to what it had been previously. Then getting an eye on what's going on here with the rail yard. More trains are starting to appear. now that we've got the lines rebuilt and now that there's active lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, like down the line, trains are popping up. So it looks like I seem to have done the trick, but there's such a crossways through here. There's so much traffic in here that we've got a bottleneck. We've got an issue with traffic. So my solution is this. We're going to go ahead and run a line over the top of all of this that just goes end to end. So those passenger trains quit getting caught up in all this cargo traffic. And that bypass should be pretty helpful to alleviate all the traffic that we have within this area. Now, the big trick will be if those trains start to use it, and all the trains that were here with new pathing disappeared, reset, and immediately we see 2 passenger trains just take off and go right on past. So that seemed to have done the trick. And I'll be checking in on it at some point here, but it does really clear it up quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of traffic moving through there train-wise, and it really just clears it up for us. Now, this is the opposite side to that high-density stuff that I placed in. I've extended the road a little bit. We're adding in some more high density. I added in another large parking lot. You can see just how much traffic there is out here near the Technical University. There's just cars parked everywhere along this street. And with all this new construction, people are moving in from out of the city, which means they're coming on the freeway and they're coming here. And where is their parking? The only place to get that parking in is those large parking lots. So we have this huge influx of cars trying to get into that large parking. Now, eventually it'll clear up. Once they're there, those cars aren't going to be moving constantly. So it's not going to be in, out, in, out, in, out. A lot of them are going to be stationary for the most part. So that traffic will be unburdened at some point. Here, I tried to do 2 traffic circles when I started this project. One of them just did not work, but deleting it, backing it off a little bit, I was able to get the traffic circle in and reconnect it. That immediately helps lift that traffic a little bit, and you can see this flood of cars. Some are going to the left, where that large parking lot has been there for a while, but a lot of them are going to the right. I just placed that new parking lot, and we've got that really high density stuff to the right. So adding a 3rd lane in here will help that traffic circle stay clear and not get too burdened. But here is that massive influx of traffic all headed for that parking lot. They're all trying to turn into that parking lot, and it's backing up this freeway pretty bad. We got a bit of a traffic jam, but I've definitely got it moving a lot better. And like I said, eventually, once those cars get into that lot, it's going to be 1 or 2 at a time in and out. It's not going to be a constant inflow. So I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be clear. But demand is high, especially low density residential. So as much as I'd love to get a traffic circle in here, there's too much that it's going to mess with and it's not going to fit. And it's just a one-way street there anyway. So it's going to be kind of a one-way flow of traffic. It'll be okay. But we're going to add in some roads to this side to prepare and put in some low density residential. Still couldn't spit it out. I did eventually get it spit out, so that's good. As I'm a little fearful of that traffic and that backup all at that exit, and it's a long ways from that exit to the last one, I figured I'm going to try to make use of what's there. And I want to connect it up eventually with that highway behind us. And that road pushed us in that direction. We'll get that road over the top eventually, but I need to get, as commercial demand is flying through the roof again, but we're going to take this back road and put it all light residential. And that'll bring a lot of new people in yet again. And we got a fire right there, but you can see all that traffic now coming to the right. That left-hand side, I haven't added that much, so that left-hand side is getting fairly well cleared up. A lot of those cars have moved in to that lot, but here we've got a real bottleneck. Any car trying to turn left, any car trying to go that singular direction just gets held up for so long because there's so much traffic trying to come through that area. As you know, we've got a couple buildings burning down, and all that traffic means we cannot get the fire engines to them. I find back here also at the primary freeway, and then that other where we have the airport to our left, all kinds of backed up here. So I'm going to rework this one, bring it back a little bit further on the ramp, trying to make a singular ramp where you just split off there, and hoping that that's going to clear things up, starting that little bit back further along the way. Keeping an eye on the traffic for a little bit. You can see at the front end it's definitely clearing, but I decided that I think I can get a second lane in here. It'll be okay with 2 lanes, just it wasn't done quite right before. So I had a second lane here, and yeah, this one's definitely moving. So we've resolved this. I'm happy to see that one get resolved. That one turned out the right way, as that traffic is definitely clearing up. Nearly no longer an issue. So you get a little bit of a bottleneck with the on-ramp, off-ramp close together, just like you do in real life, really. But I realized almost all of this traffic is going to the right. Very little going to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that one into 2 lanes. And then as soon as I get here, I see that the other lane, the way it intersects, they all just go into a yield, which just slows them down on that side. And I didn't need that. So I was like, okay, well, we'll back it off just a little bit. Just make sure they merge together to take that one lane, which now has that freeway flowing nicely until you get to this now massive bottleneck with both in and outbound traffic, as people have been here for a bit now. People have to head to work, and like I said, the flow won't be as bad, but it's not good. So I need to try to address this. First thing I'm trying to do is squeeze in either a tunnel to bring it under and away to the left, right? That way to the left is the problem. So I'm extending the off-ramp a little bit so we can get people off the highway onto this off-ramp for a little bit, so they can have a chance to the freeway traffic itself move. Then add another lane. That way there's a left-hand turn lane. Now those going to the left are not holding up those going to the right. Those going to the right can keep things moving much better. Doing the same on the other side so we can alleviate that exact same problem. I'd love to have 2 lanes all the way, but that's okay. At least it's there for the turn lane section, and you can see it's already cleared things up a bit. The bottleneck at that little dumbbell, better than it was. But still, so much a work in progress. There is just a lot of traffic here coming in and out. Human traffic is also a bit of a factor in this. It's not just the cars. And I decided it's time. We're going to go full on back to the drawing board. I need 1 traffic circle. This traffic circle and then a traffic circle, it was too much. I couldn't get it down the middle without really going to the drawing board. So we've kind of got it built off this one side. But bringing our 4 ramps into a single traffic circle plus the 2 roads should help clear things up. Now, we've only just placed it, so there's the initial sorting things out phase. But sitting back and trying to watch this for a little bit, this has been our biggest traffic headache yet. We had the other big traffic headache, again, at an off-ramp that we did eventually get cleared up. The big key to that one was shifting the bus depot, but especially adding another on-off ramp further down the line. And not even a complete one. Here, there's still too many cars coming in. Too much traffic into the intersection itself. So if we can alleviate some of that by bringing your on-ramp at least 50% of that traffic into its own connection via an earlier ramp, we'll pull some more of that traffic away from that circle. And you can see all of this now was eastbound traffic is all flowing a lot better now. I'm so happy that I have finally discovered how to use that the road maintenance tools. Left click is add, right click is subtract. And that discovery is making a world of difference. That's helping the flow through there. Trying to get one the other way to do the same thing, the opposite direction, not working, but that side's really not as bad anyway. But now you can see just how quickly that traffic is starting to move for us. And a lot of the backup, a lot of the traffic jam is cleared out. Great news, folks, though. We are making bank. We are really making some money. We're bringing in $5.5 million in taxes. Having these people here is bringing in a lot of money. And the services, they're not making money. But services are what you need for the people. That's what the taxes pay for. And even though they themselves aren't profitable, even the electricity is not profitable. The fees are $360K. The export's $500,000. But the maintenance and resources is nearly $1 million. It's a negative. But it's not negative by much. And other than the healthcare and death care, most of those are not negative by much. We're spending a lot of money. But the taxation is more. We bring more in taxes than what we have in these. The services, the fees, they help offset. And they are really where we are profitable. Because right now we're up to $12.6 million. As I spent all this time fighting with traffic and sorting out traffic and figuring that out, figuring that element of this out, we were able to make some bank during that stretch. Meanwhile, we're also up to 62,000 people. Education and research, nearly paying for itself. 1.25 million revenue and just 1.3 in expenses. And while raw goods, I mean, even the timber industry is at a slight deficit. The only one that's positive right now is the new one that we added in, and that's ore. And that seems to be the case. I get a new one in, and suddenly we have a surplus. But then new industries come in to use those goods, and then they use it all up. And then we end up having to import a little bit more. But ultimately, I think we still make more than we lose. So before, and especially now, noticing that our timber industry is at a deficit, I'm going to go ahead and add another one into this area next to the ore. There's already a watchtower there in the area to prevent forest fires, and we're going to get that all connected up and then start hooking this up and maximize the space. We've got to get around the watchtower, which is a little tricky, but it wasn't too bad. And now we're to the edge of the circle, which gets almost all of this forested area. You can see we're even getting to the edge of it there. But this is the process on how I kind of set these up. Just click and drag, get it set up. Now we got to hook up to this road. The road's not totally straight, so that took a little bit, but there you go. That fills in. There's one little pocket off the edge of the circle, plus the road itself coming in, and that one pocket isn't too heavily treed, and it's well worth it. Like, this is good. That's going to add a lot of timber for us. It's going to do well. And then after all the traffic nightmares, I figured I'd go and check a few other areas, see how we're doing. Those are buses holding the road up a little bit, holding some traffic up. And this intersection, yeah, it's a little bit of a problem. Little bit of a problem here. Can't fit a traffic circle in there without taking away industries that surround it, and just didn't want to mess with them. But taking away one crosswalk when you have two of them side by side going the same direction on a T junction didn't make a lot of sense. So I was able to get rid of one of those key ones and free things up a little bit. But here we're going to fit in a little more, as we still need that light residential. Always freaking needing light residential all the damn time. Demand is very, very high for that. But the thing about it is we get a lot of money in taxation. So bringing those people in is a good thing. Jobs for the industries. I did take that road and finally connect it up over. I didn't end up using that scene here in this brief cut, but I put it over that freeway and connected it up down by the medical university. So that's giving us a third way to get in and out of this side of the freeway. We've got the technical university here to the west, right down on the screen. And then you've got this central one that got horribly overloaded, and I think I literally spent close to an hour trying to get that one sorted out, and then we added in that one off the industrial end. But with that latest addition, we've made it milestone 13. Huge city. We are now a huge city. Good to see. Can't believe we're that big already when we only have 63,000 people, but there you have it. We've made that much progress, 13 milestones and counting. I have 18 points right now to use, so looking to see what we can do with that. There's the advanced water pumping station. Healthcare, we have a health research institute, and we have 65% health. So I'm going to go ahead and invest 8 points to that one, as I hate seeing that health number so low. I don't understand why it's that bad. Maybe that health research institute will help take care of it. Firefighting helicopter depot, just 2 points to get that one. We have so much forested area that makes sense to me to spend those 2 points. And we're going to unlock trams. The buses are doing well. The trains are doing all right. That's next form of transportation to progress into. And I have 6 points left. We're going to hang on to those for now. I now have 24 tiles available to me. And my first addition is a crematorium. It's one area that's coming up a little bit short. And before I build something else next to it and get crowded in there, I'm adding 2 extra components for additional hearses so we can bring people in, because they're always waiting for a hearse. Always waiting for a hearse. This is right next to that big, large parking lot. All nice and cleared up finally, by the way. So that side, totally cleared up. And looking, you could see the ramp right there. That traffic's gone. So I did finally get that resolved through that combination of factors, right? It was more than one thing going on, and we actually still haven't even connected this end up to that industrial area, but those 3 connections will unite at some point. We brought a lot of people into that road. It's a busy road, but I managed to deal with it, managed to take care of it, managed to clean that traffic up. What a happy moment to have that resolved, because that was tough. That was a challenge. That was a real challenge to get that one sorted out and find a way to make it work and not get things backed up too much. But we had a one-stop station, and that's going to do it for this episode. I'm the Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.